Dr. Simi Mehta for her remarks on the insightful session, followed by a book release named Advocating Feminist Foreign Policy for India. Over to you.
Thank you very much, Harsha, and good evening to everyone. It is indeed a delight and a great joy to be witnessing this day. This is a very special day as we are releasing one of the most pioneering works in the field of international relations, which is also a relatively lesser studied field in India. A book which is titled Advocating a Feminist Foreign Policy in India, which is co-authored by Honorable Professor Vibhuti Patel, Satyam Tripathi, and myself, published by IMPRI Books. Having specialized in foreign policy as my area of study with gender justice as an area of interest and research, it is actually very overwhelming to see an amalgamation of both in the form of the work of feminist foreign policy. So right at the outset, I'd like to thank all my co-authors and the research team for having had the patience to work on this topic and espouse their brilliant analysis, contextualizing the unique position which India is at, of breaking the adages of being a land of snake charmers to a nation, to a civilization which is united to carve a space of its own at the global platform, and leaving behind a legacy for all the other nations to follow. The topic for feminist foreign policy has been discussed at international and global other platforms for quite some time, and it has significantly been gaining some traction and recognition in India. And as we'll see, and we'll be discussing more about what feminist foreign policy is, it actually is to define just in the beginning that it is an approach to international relations and diplomacy that seeks to promote gender equality and women's rights as central objectives of a country's foreign policy agenda. So given the stage of development that India is in, and the exciting possibilities that the future holds, I think, and we firmly believe and advocate in the book, is that the time is ripe for women-led development by prioritizing inclusive sustainability. And it is great to know that Women's Reservation Bill is finally seemingly becoming an act, and therefore proactive discussions on feminist foreign policy, specially customized for India with a global outlook, will not only address the complex and interconnected challenges related to gender inequality, but it would also contribute to a more just, peaceful, and sustainable world order. And this book, which is being released today under the noble guidance of one of India's most eminent feminists, Professor Vibhuti Patel, Satyam and I would like to congratulate all of us and also our publisher. Thank you, Dr. Arjun Kumar, Director of IMPRI, for facilitating this book. I exhort each one of you, as we will be witnessing the book release, and we'll also be witnessing very important discussions that will follow. I exhort each one of you, and those who will be also reading the book, to shed your inhibitions and join hands for carving an equal and gender just family, society, nation, and the world. So with this, I would like to thank you, and I would like to invite my co-author, Satyam, for his presentation. Thank you very much, and I welcome you all to the session.
Thank you, ma'am. Good evening to everyone in this esteemed gathering. To start with, first I would like to introduce the three women stalwarts portrayed on the cover to whom this book is dedicated. First is Shri Vijayalakshmi Panditji. She was not just the first woman cabinet minister, she also represented India after its independence at the UN and later went on to become the first woman president of the UN General Assembly. Second on the cover is the portrayal of Shri Hansha Mehta ji. She played a significant role as India's delegate to United Nations Commission on Human Rights from 1947 to 1952, wherein she advocated for the gender-neutral phrasing of the Declaration of Human Rights by insisting on replacing all men with a more inclusive wording, that is, all human beings are born free and equal. Third picture is of Shri Koyenara Beliappa Muthamma. She was the first woman to clear the India's coveted civil services examination, thereby becoming the first IFS officer. Now coming to the book, this book is an effort to make a legitimate case for India so as to conceive feminism and gender sensitivity beyond the debate of words and deeds, which themselves have become somewhat incongruous, partly because of standardization and also due to the skepticism associated with the semantic relations of feminism itself. Today, there is an apparent lacuna in gender dimensions of strategic thinking. Therefore, to set the record straight, explicitness at the policy level becomes necessary more than ever. Having said that, the book contains 4 chapters. The first chapter elucidates the background of feminist foreign policy, the concept itself, its origin, and the trajectories of the implementation of FFP around the globe. Furthermore, it also talks about the need for gender-sensitive approach in foreign policy. The second chapter contextualizes FFP in Indian setting, where we have tried to align FFP with India's national interests and how it holds relevance for India to advance its foreign policy objectives. The third chapter tries to follow up with the contemporary and emerging debates pertaining to women and foreign policy, such as the role of women in diplomacy, gender peace and security, as well as climate change, etc. It also contains the intellectual outcomes of the IMPRI events, which are an online monsoon school program on feminist foreign policy, Praxis for a Peaceful and Gender Just World Order, that took place in the month of September last year, and consequently followed by the other physical event at the India Habitat Center, New Delhi. On the theme, Feminist Foreign Policy, Exploring India's Position, which was held in the month of October 2022. Taking cues from other countries' experiences, Chapter 3 also highlights the gaps in FFP and puts forth the tracking mechanisms for implementing the same in India. The conclusion, followed by the way forward, promises optimism and calls for international relations experts to assess sociocultural, economic, and political issues from an intersectional gendered perspective, which will ensure a deeper appreciation for the gender differential impact of and responses to the existing as well as unfolding realities. Last but not the least, we would like to acknowledge esteemed panelists, expert resource persons, and all the participants who have been part of the past IMPRI events on this issue. We would also like to thank Dr. Arjun Kumar for facilitating the production of the literature on this pressing issue. And finally, acknowledging and thanking the research team comprising Samriddhi Sharma, Ishina Das, Manusha, and Fiza Mahajan for their time and efforts in materializing this book. With this, I would like to stop now and turn it over to Vibhuti ma'am and Simi ma'am.
Thank you, Satyam. And I would now like to thank you, Satyam, for providing such a brief, wonderful overview of the book. And now I'd like to invite Professor Vibhuti Patel for her inaugural address. Professor, over to you. Ma'am, please unmute. Ma'am, please unmute. Ma'am, please unmute. Yes.
Thank you, Dr. Simi Mehta, and thank you, Satyam, for introducing the book. I would like to announce that it is freely downloadable. There is no cost of the book. Anybody can download it. Link is also shared. First of all, I would like to thank the IMPRI team, Dr. Arjun Kumar, Dr. Simi Mehta, Dr. Satyam Tripathi, Mr. Harsha Kawatra for putting this whole 2-day workshop together. I know more than 500 people have joined the platform, and they are from Asia and Pacific region. Some of the stalwarts who have been extremely active for past nearly 50 years, right from the time of before the Towards Equality report. Professor Pam Rajput is with us. She has been to more than 85 countries over this year discussing the global feminist solidarity